Hey y'all, hi. Today's video is a straightforward self-sponsored review. I purchased 3 products from the newly launched brand Rose Inc, and I'm going to be reviewing them for you. I've been testing them out for several days. I have thoughts. It's actually been a more interesting process than I expected it to be, like more interesting outcomes than I expected to have, even though I was the one who decided to review these products and purchased them for review. So I have the concealer in the lightest shade. I have the lip and cheek. It's basically a cream blush and it's in the shade Heliotrope. And I have the lip product in the shade Abstraction. I have close-up footage of myself applying all 3 of these products. I have final thoughts on all 3 of these products. And in the course of reviewing Rose Inc, I'm going to be introducing you to basically like my 5-minute face that I've been doing for the past several weeks on the days when I'm not filming. I've developed like a new routine, kind of a new style for easy, casual makeup. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah and I love beautiful things. I like beauty. I value quality over quantity in beauty. And I like reviewing products. I often review things that brands send to me for free, but in order to make sure that that's not all that I'm reviewing on my channel, every once in a while I take a bit of my channel's budget and I spend it on something just for review. So there are these self-sponsored reviews mixed in with the other videos on my channel. If all of that sounds good to you, I hope you will subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Rose Inc is a celebrity makeup brand. The products were created and are being marketed by Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, who's a model. And I've always conceived of Rosie Huntington-Whiteley as being a very like minimalist makeup, glossy, almost like Glossier, like cool girl aesthetic type of celebrity. And so I was kind of expecting that from these products. And boy, was I ever wrong. I mean, I was like wrong. It's pigment across the board. Let's start with the concealer. I'll talk you through it and I'll also show you the footage. I have the shade LX010. It's the lightest shade. It's very light and it's very neutral. And that's the main reason why I decided to review this brand at all. I had high hopes that it would be light enough for me. It is. It's light enough for me, and it's really truly neutral. Like it's almost got that gray tinge to it, which I find really helpful. It helps to cancel out the redness in my skin. It's a better match for my skin than other things. I have only this concealer. If you've been following me for a while and you're like abreast of my complexion matching struggles, this might blow your mind in the way that it's blowing my mind. The only product that I have on the lower part of my face right here is this concealer on top of a primer. I didn't use green color corrector today. I didn't mix this with anything else, any of my other concealers or anything. And the primer that I used wasn't color correcting either. I used the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. And look at the match that I'm getting here for my neck. I mean, it's actually never before seen. Like this has never actually happened to me. You can also probably tell if you know what my skin looks underneath here, and if you don't, you're about to find out because I'll roll the footage of myself applying it in a little bit, that the coverage is incredible. For like a thin layer of concealer all over the bottom half of my face, the color match and the coverage are both incredible. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let me give you some comparison swatches to the other products in my collection that are kind of close to my skin tone. There's Rose Inc. And right next to it, I've put the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Concealer in the shade 11, which is too light for me and is also just a little bit yellow. I find it really useful for blending into other concealers. Concealers are usually too dark and too pink for me, so this is a great tool for me to have. I also really like this formula because it's very liquidy and skin-like. You can see that it's lighter, brighter, and more yellow than Rose Inc. Next to that, I've put the Hourglass Vanish Concealer in the shade Birch, which I really like having because it's also really, really light and really, really neutral. Previously, this was the best match, especially for a one-and-done product that I'd ever come across for my skin tone, but it's not as neutral as the one from Rose Inc. It's a little more yellow. It's a little more got kind of that bright yellow shade. For comparison's sake, even though this doesn't match me and I never use it, I put next to those 3 swatches the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Fair Warm. This is the closest match for me in e.l.f.'s range, but it's not light enough or neutral enough for me. It's weirdly, it's like too peach. It's too dark and it's also too peach. Next to that, I put a swatch of the Sephora Best Skin Ever Skin Tint, which is a great product for me, but it is a bit, it's almost like it's too pink. It's very, very pale, which makes it useful for me, but it's not the perfect match that we have here. And then lastly, I put a streak of the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly. This is the lightest shade in NARS's range, and it's my spot concealer. I find it really, really useful because it's super matte and it's also just a bit dark. So it's great for concealing spots and getting them to kind of disappear, melt away into my skin. Again, from top to bottom, on the very top, we have the lightest shade of Rose Ink Concealer. Underneath that, we have Makeup Forever Ultra HD in shade 11. Third one down is Hourglass Vanish Concealer in the lightest shade Birch. Underneath that is e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in Fair Warm. Underneath that is the Sephora Best Skin Ever Skin Tint in their lightest shade, which is, it's like a Fair Cool. And the very bottom is NARS Chantilly, the Soft Matte Complete Concealer. The Rose Ink Concealer, the one on the very top, it's definitely the most neutral. Birch, the one from Hourglass, is also quite neutral. And compared to the rest of them, both of those seem almost like a little bit green. Like they're so neutral that they're maybe just a teeny bit greenish gray. And that's perfect for me. The packaging is lovely. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like Gucci. It doesn't feel like it's made out of, metal or something, but it doesn't feel dinky either. And it's definitely ergonomic. It's definitely aerodynamic. It has those nice qualities. And the coverage is bananas. It is off the roof. I'll show you, I'll roll the footage now finally of myself applying this full face of coverage that I have on today. Again, I started with just the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer all over my face. And then I went in with a dab of this on the back of my hand. I put it on the back of my hand because it's super pigmented, and I knew from playing with it all week that a little bit would go a very, very long way. I knew that if I dabbed it straight onto my face, I would immediately have gone overboard. So I put it just a bit on the back of my hand, and then I went in with a brush. And I started by blending it out of my under eye area. And you can see when you watch me blending it that it just goes and goes and goes. It covers so much surface area, but without getting streaky, without getting patchy. I really like to go a little bit at a time anyway when I'm applying base product. I don't like to blank out my entire face. I just like to cover the parts of my face that I want to even out, to color correct, and I like to leave the parts of my face that already look good just bare. So I mostly confined this product to my under eye area and to the sides of my cheeks and my chin, which get really red and have some scarring. And again, you'll be able to see in the footage that I covered everything, but without it ending up looking cakey. It is buildable, but I didn't really need to build because the first layer really did it. And I ended up with what is to me a perfect base. I also didn't powder over it, and I have been powdering lately because my skin, I don't know, I've been using these really dewy products, and I feel like if it's too dewy around like my marionette lines, or even like my under eye area, the planes of my face are really highlighted by the shine and it's not quite as flattering. So I've been powdering those areas down a lot. This, it's not too dewy. It's also not matte. You know what I mean? Like you can see that there's a little bit of shine here on my face, and it would probably get more like that throughout the day. I might end up wanting to powder like in an hour or two. That is kind of what I've been doing actually this week. It's like I put it on and it looks amazing, and then an hour or two later I end up doing a little bit of powdering just to take down that shine. But right out of the gate, it's satiny and skin-like. It's dewy without being so greasy, shiny that I just feel like I need to immediately set it with powder, need to immediately tone down that gloss with powder. I'm sure it's just a matter of taste, like a matter of my particular needs, what I'm looking for. But this product for me has hit it out of the park in every single way. It's particularly exciting for me because that never happens for me with base products because I have such pale and such neutral skin, because I kind of have specific needs. I don't want it to be too dewy, but I don't want it to be too matte. And I think that what I've learned over the years, but also because of this product, what I've learned is that I do want coverage. I want my product to be able to provide full coverage on the parts of my face where I want to conceal what's underneath it. But I want it to be really, really thin and skin-like and not look like makeup on my face and not be cakey. And I want it to have a finish that's not too matte and not too dewy so that I don't have to layer a lot of stuff on top of it. Now, I don't think that it's the first thing like that on the market. I think that there are a lot of ultra pigmented but thin and skin-like base products on the market. It's just the first one that I've ever tried that actually matches my skin. And when something's ultra pigmented, it doesn't help me very much if it doesn't actually match my skin. Because if it's ultra pigmented but is not a match, then I have to work really hard to rebalance the tones of it using other products, mixing them in. And so that pigment only goes so far because it's going to be watered down by the other products that I'm adding to it to change the color. At this point, it's been like an hour and a half, maybe a little more, since I put this makeup on and filmed it. So the product has had time to warm up, become one with my skin. If it were going to like separate or crack or sink into my pores or do anything weird, it would have done that by now. But it looks like I'm not wearing makeup, honestly. Like really, really close up, it really looks like I'm not wearing makeup. That's partly because I knew how full coverage it was, and so I really sheared it out, and I was putting it on top of a pretty balmy primer. So I didn't apply the kind of super thick layer that would be like spackle and literally blank out my entire skin. I worked it into my skin and I sheared it out, and I made it kind of like warm and emollient. I made it part of my skin with the brush. So I can see a little bit of what's going on underneath it at very close range. I can see some of the very, very old scars. I can see a little bit, I don't know, I have like a clogged pore or two that's making like a little bump, and I can kind of see that. But I like that because I feel like that makes it look even more like real skin. If I had wanted to completely cover everything and start with like a totally flawless blank canvas, like for some kind of photo shoot for a magazine or something, I could easily have done that with this. I would just have had to apply more. I mean, you saw how much I used. I put a dab on my hand and then I didn't even use half of it to cover my entire face. If I had used the whole dab to cover my entire face, I probably wouldn't be seeing the little specks that I'm seeing through the product now, but I wouldn't be as happy with that because it would look more like makeup and less like my natural skin. Thinking now about Rosie Huntington-Whiteley's career, the fact that she is a model, it makes sense that instead of designing some sort of like sheer, barely there tint for the skin, she designed something that, you know, could potentially last for like a 10-hour workday or like a really long photo shoot or through several meetings or something like that. It feels to me like it's giving the Glossier look, but much more serious makeup, much more heavy-duty makeup. It's like Glossier, but make it pigmented. So that's the concealer. I honestly couldn't be happier. And in case I haven't made it clear enough, I have to give the caveat, which is that I have never found a concealer that really is the perfect color for me, or a foundation or anything. So I feel like I'm giving it an incredibly glowing review, and it is authentic to me. I mean, I think the formula is amazing as well. The finish, the way that it wears, all of the stuff is fantastic. There hasn't been anything bad about it for me. But just to be clear, in case you're suddenly feeling like you absolutely have to have it and nothing else will do, a large part of my excitement is coming from the color match, and that's only going to be relevant to a small fraction of you. So take everything I'm saying with that grain of salt. But if you've been interested in this for some reason, if you were like going back and forth thinking about it, if you are about to run out of concealer and you need a new concealer and you want to try something new, I hope that it's going as well for other people with this product as it is for me, because I just feel like it's magic. I'm really into it, you guys. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the lip and cheek product, this cream product in a compact, which I feel like there's been relatively minimal buzz about this brand on social media, but what buzz there has been has basically just been about the fact that this looks like a little miniature airplane toilet seat, which it does. And it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like they were trying to do something different. I just can imagine everyone sitting around, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley sitting around in like the meeting about design, and they were like, let's come up with a shape that no one's used before. Let's not use square. Let's not use round. Let's use this combination of square and round. And in the abstract, it is kind of like an attractive, well-proportioned, sort of like minimalist, striking, maybe modernist design. And then when you as everyone's saying all over Instagram, once you see the airplane toilet seat, you can't unsee it. And since someone mentioned it to me, I can't unsee it either. But I like it. I still like it. It feels, again, it feels not super heavy, not like it's been weighted down full of magnets to make it feel luxurious, but it definitely feels nice, well designed. And I love that these pans are removable. You can pop them out and buy refills. And you can pop them out by sticking like a little pin through the bottom. So you don't actually even have to have a depotting tool. But I believe they're magnetic. I haven't done it yet though. Let's do it. Yeah, I just bent a bobby pin and stuck it through. Pops right out, which is nice. I feel like I could like put this in my Salt New York palette. It also means that you can buy this for a lower price without having to buy the whole compact, less waste, less money. Love it. And then you don't have to deal with a toilet seat if you don't want to. This is the shade Heliotrope. And let's talk about color first and do comparison swatches because that's the order in which I went with the concealer. Consistency. This is the lightest shade that she released, and I was honestly hoping it would be lighter and more neutral. It looked lighter and more neutral, kind of like softer in some of the product shots that I saw. In person, it's a pretty, well, for me, because I'm very pale, it's a pretty rich or like mid-toned, dusty rose, basically, rather than being like a nearly pastel rose, which is kind of what I thought it was going to be. It does look a lot, I haven't swatched it next to anything yet, so we're finding out together. It does look a lot like the lightest shade in the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek palette. Actually, it's lighter. It's a little bit more, it's not pastel, but it's a little bit more pastel and a little bit less peachy and more rosy. But you know, very similar. And this kind of thing, it ends up looking pretty much the same once you buff it out on the cheeks. But you know, you can see that they're slightly different. Here's the Salt New York blush in the shade Rose. The color is very similar. The color of Rose is very similar. Again, I think Heliotrope from Rose Inc., it's a little bit dustier. Like it's got a little bit more of that neutrality in it, but it's really similar. And I also brought over Joyful, which is a Kir Weiss blush. Joyful is deeper. It's almost like it's got some more red in it, some more coral. It's more of like a ruddy watermelon coral than any of the other three. Once again, the Rose Inc. product is on top here. So that top swatch is Heliotrope. Underneath it is the lightest pink in the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek. Underneath that is Salt New York Rose, and the bottom swatch is Kir Weiss Joyful. Now that I've swatched it out, I can see that this is indeed paler, like milkier by a hair, and also more neutral by a hair than any of the other cream blushes that I thought might be a match for it. But you know me, I'm always looking for like a super pale, grubby, kind of like dirty, pale nude blush, cream blush, but it wasn't going to come from this brand. At least for the initial launch, all of the colors are pretty milquetoast. I forgot that I brought M Cosmetics Venetian Rose over here, this business. The Color Drop Serum Blush in Venetian Rose. So it's right there, it's darker. And it's right there on the end. It's darker, and then the second one in is Heliotrope. Let's talk about the formula. Delightfully, the thing that it reminds me the most of in its pigment level and the consistency is the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek palette. And y'all know, this is my favorite formula. Like these are my favorite cream blushes, or I guess cream lip and cheek products. But these are really soft. They're really, really pigmented. And very, very lipsticky, but they're soft. You know what I mean? Like you can see how messed around they've gotten just from me dipping my fingers and my brushes into them over and over again. This pan is very hard and the formula is very stiff. I don't know how well you'll be able to see how stiff it is in the footage of me blending it out onto my cheeks, but you definitely do have to swirl the brush and blend and blend and blend to get it to be even. It's not as though it's difficult to get an even blend. Like it's not prone to patchiness or prone to streakiness or anything like that. I mean, it applies beautifully. You can see that I didn't struggle with it at all. It's just you have to work at it a little bit. You have to work at it with the brush to get it to spread. I kind of like this, and it's one of the things that I like about the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek, that they're almost stiff in terms of how lipsticky and pigmented, like they're almost sticky. It's my favorite cheek formula because I feel like working at it with the brush, blending and blending and blending, it allows you to have the most control over where it spreads on your cheek. When I apply a cream cheek that's really slick and slippery and thin, and it just all of a sudden is like blown out all over my cheek, all over everywhere, it's a little harder to control, and it's a little bit harder to get an elegant build where you have like a wash of color all over the cheek and then it's more concentrated, maybe higher on the cheekbones. With this kind of formula, it's really easy to control it, and it's really easy to get that effect if that's what you want. Of course, the insane pigment level also means that it's going to take a really long time to use up. If you're a person who has a minimalist makeup collection and you only have 1 or 2 cream blushes at a time, or maybe just one lip and cheek that you always use, this would be a good choice because it's going to last and last and last. And then when you do use it up, you can just replace the pan instead of having to replace the whole compact. I'm a little bit scared of the pigment. I feel like it would be super easy to go overboard with this product. You'll see in the footage that I apply just a little bit at a time. I go back and apply more and more, like 3 or 4 times, because I start with such a tiny amount and blend, tiny amount and blend. I wanted to end up with a pretty blushy look because that's what I've been wearing for my 5-minute face. I've been going hard with the blush lately. So I did that. I went back and layered it. And I also did that so you could see the way that it would look with just a little bit, and then the way that it looks if you continue to blend. It's very buildable, and the fact that it's so stiff means that I feel like it's gonna stay. And now we're returning to what I think is like the overall thrust of this brand so far and the overall thrust of my review. It feels like these products are designed to last. It feels like they're designed by someone who's like a professional. Like it makes sense. It feels like they were designed by a professional model, which they were. Somebody who likes a cream cheek and likes the dewiness and the natural look of a cream cheek, but doesn't like the aspect of the majority of cream cheeks on the market, which is that they don't set. It's easy for them to transfer if you accidentally touch them. You get your hair caught in them because they're so incredibly dewy and sticky. If something traces through them, then it'll leave a mark. You know what I mean? Those are the things about most cream cheeks that are inconvenient. And it seems like Rosie Huntington-Whiteley agreed with me about that, and she designed a cream cheek that didn't have those problems. It's just a heavy hitter. It's heavy duty. It doesn't look like it would be. And it doesn't look like it is when it's on the cheeks. But it is. My only complaint about this is the shade range. I feel like it's incredibly basic. This is the only color in the entire release that I was drawn to at all, that I even like wanted to test. And even I wasn't all that gung-ho about. I mean, it does look lovely, but it doesn't excite me. And there are so many colors on this earth that really, really get me going, really excite me. I want to touch them, I want to swatch them, I want to put them all over my cheeks. There wasn't a single color in this initial launch that made me feel that way. I hope that Rosie Huntington-Whiteley will expand the shade range of this product to include some weirder, grungier, more exciting, and I'd even say more sophisticated shades. Give me something tawny. Can we have something tawny? And I felt the same way about the shade range of the lip product. This is the only color, Abstraction, that I felt like wasn't going to be a super dark, strong statement lip on me, like a really, really contrasty stamp of color on my very pale face. It's the lightest one. It's a kind of peachy, but it said it's kind of like a pale peach, but it's just rose. Like it's just a rose mauve, just like the blush. They're very similar in color. I'll swatch them next to each other. They're almost exactly the same color. The one that's closer to my thumb, the lighter one with a little bit of sheen, that's the lip and cheek. And that super matte pigmented swatch is the lip product, the lip crayon. I brought a bunch of things to compare to this color, the lip crayon. So here's the M Cosmetics Venetian Rose lip cushion. It's like exactly the same color, maybe a tiny bit darker. So I find it weird that they marketed Abstraction as a peach, a soft peach, I think they might have said. But then look how much of a perfect match it is for Venetian Rose, which is, clearly like a dusky rose. There's Lisa Eldridge Kitten Mischief there. It's like a little bit more bright of a pink, but it's also kind of a sheer product. There's Glossier Villa, also a little bit brighter of a pink, but again, also kind of a sheer product. And then on the end, sorry, the swatches got a little bit messed up because I bumped my hand against something. There's Glossier Genius and Glossier Pony, the vanillic lips. This is a pretty thick swatch of Glossier Pony. It's darker and more taupe than this, but it's actually kind of similar, especially like in practice in its own way. The top swatch there, once again, is Heliotrope, the lip and cheek from Rose Inc. The second swatch down is Abstraction, which is the lip pencil we're talking about. And then the third swatch there is Venetian Rose, the M Cosmetics lip cushion. Fourth swatch down is Lisa Eldridge Kitten Mischief. And then underneath that, we have Glossier Villa, Glossier Genius, and lastly, Glossier Pony. Curiously, on my hand and on my mouth too, because I'm clearly wearing this product right now, it does look a little bit more brown, like a little bit more neutral than all of these other ones, which are looking more pink. I appreciate that. I appreciate that it has that sort of sophisticated, toned down quality, like there might be just a touch of brown in it. But overall, I find this to be a pretty basic color, and I have the same reaction to the shade range of these as I have to the shade range of these. I would just like to see some slightly more unusual colors. That said, have I stopped wearing this since it came in the mail? No. I mean, that's partly because I've been testing it for review, but I've really enjoyed wearing it. It is mostly because of the formula. I'm not mad at the color though. I mean, I think you can tell it doesn't look natural. Like it doesn't look like these are my actual lips. You can definitely tell that I'm wearing a product, but it looks natural enough with my coloring that it's not bananas, you know? And so I felt comfortable with it, just like doing basic things around the house, just putting it on as kind of like, again, a 5-minute makeup, casual, easy, didn't try too hard, didn't do too much kind of face. So yeah, the color's working for me. I would even go so far as to say it's growing on me. But the thing that's making it so sustainably wearable for me all the time is the formula and the method of application that I'm using. So I've been doing with this what I tend to do with a lip liner. And I talked about this recently in a video, the video, how I do my makeup for a nice dinner, which is, if I do say so myself as the one who filmed it and starred in it and edited it and posted it on YouTube, it's a good video. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. I'll link it down below. In that video, I talked about the technique that I use when I'm going to be eating and drinking, and I want to enhance my lips a little bit, but I need it to be super sturdy. I talked about taking a lip liner and coloring in the stretch of skin that's between the softer flesh of my lips and the flesh of my face. I was like, there's this line, there's this place where the lip skin and the face skin meet. And for me, there's sort of like a line of more pale lip skin that is that edge. And some of you in the comments told me that there's a name for that part of the human face, and it's called the vermilion border. It's called the vermilion border. I could not believe it. The first person who commented that, I was like, you made that up. You are just baiting me. It's like poet bait. And then other people started commenting it. Multiple people were like, it's called the vermilion border. And I Googled it and you were all right. It is called the vermilion border. It's called the vermilion border. Sorry, I'm having a conniption just remembering it. I'm gonna go ahead and roll the footage of myself applying this product to my lips, and you will see me taking the tip of the pencil and coloring in the vermilion border. All I did was color in the vermilion border, fill in my lips with a pencil, and then I took a brush and I softened the edge because, you know, it's sort of like a thick, strong, it's again, very, very, very pigmented product. And it's really a strong, thick line when you first draw it on. And I didn't want it to be too intensely outlined, my lips. So I took a soft brush and I just buffed the edges into the skin on my face so that the vermilion border like blends into the face. The formula of this and the performance of the product, it follows suit with the other two that I tried. It's really, really pigmented. So a little bit goes a long way. And because it's so pigmented, it's easy to manipulate. Like it's easy to get it to do what I want it to do. But it's thin and so it's easy to wear. It's lightweight. It doesn't feel like a lot on my lips. It feels like I applied a lip product and then it sort of wore away. But then when I look in the mirror, it hasn't worn away. It looks exactly like it did when I first applied it. And I like that. My lips are quite dry today and it's not providing any nourishment for them, but I kind of like that sort of richly pigmented, but like dry, natural lip. Like it's almost like I just woke up like this kind of texture to the lips. And it's not uncomfortable. It's not making them drier or, you know, making them crack or something like that. I think that with this kind of product, a matte, very pigmented pencil style product, but that's also designed to be used all over the lips, it's perfect for the technique that I really like to use with this kind of thing, where you color in the vermilion border, color in the lip, blend it out, buff it down a little bit, and it just ends up looking like your lips, but way, way, way better. I just can't get enough, okay? I just can't get enough of this like Glossier on steroids situation. And I've been wearing this a lot. I've been absolutely loving it. However, I will say there's a real packaging issue with this product. It just feels, of the three of them, the most cheaply made for sure, but that would be absolutely fine. The issue is that it's a twist up, right? If you twist it up a little bit, even just a little bit beyond all the way down, like if you just twist it, I don't know, like 1/4 of an inch up, then it's too high for the cap. So if you twist it up a tiny bit when you open it just to see, you know, and you forget to twist it all the way down, when you put the cap on, the tip of the product will touch the tip of the cap and it will stick. And then when you take the cap off, it will pull the product out. It's weak enough in there. The adhesion to the base of the twisty part inside of the tube is weak enough that the tip of this sticking to the inside of the tube is a strong enough bond to break the product off of its base and pull it out, and it will go flying. It's happened to me. I think it's happened to like everyone I've seen, and there's only a couple people I've seen like opening this and testing it on Instagram or something, but it's happened to everyone that I've seen do it. Everyone. And I also saw in Kaki's review, she was twisting the bottom to see if there might be a sharpener in there, and she accidentally broke it. So this is a very delicate, unfortunately, a very delicately packaged product. I'm not entirely sure. That kind of thing does bother me a little bit, especially because there's so many beautifully packaged things on the market. I'm not sure if I would entirely recommend this for that reason. If for some reason it seems like the exact perfect product for you and you desperately want to try it, just be aware of that, like be careful with it. I wish that I had never twisted it up, because now that that thing happened where it got stuck and it went flying, it's broken. Like the entire thing came out of it, and I had to put it back in, and I pushed it so that it would maybe stick at the bottom, but now it just feels like it's going to fly out again anytime. I just wish I had kept it twisted down and never touched it, and that had never happened, because I feel like it's the kind of thing that you can't entirely ever repair. It also has this thing where when you put the cap on, it looks like you've closed it, but then you haven't. Like there's this little gap that you have to completely snap shut. I just feel like there's a lot of struggle that goes on with this, the packaging of this one product. It would be great if they totally revamped the way that this is designed, the way that it's packaged. But in all other ways, I think it's fantastic. And, you know, I love the way that it looks. I just love it. I love how I was able to overline my lips a little bit with it, but without feeling like I have a ton of makeup on my mouth and without looking like I have a really sharp line of makeup around my mouth. It's just, again, it's that balance between it looking and feeling natural and casual, but it having this like amped up quality of pigment and formula that makes it really sturdy. It's not going anywhere. And I've been wearing these products exactly like this every day for a week, you know, as I've been testing them, and they just aren't going anywhere. I look exactly the same at the end of the day as I do at the beginning of the day. And that's me running around, helping with the baby, cooking a full meal, doing a bunch of like reorganizing stuff, doing a bunch of writing out in my very hot these days in the afternoon office where I get all sweaty, trying to get the stray cats in the yard to let me pet them. And I mean, it's just, I'm a pretty active person is all that I'm saying. And I'm also not precious with my makeup. I touch my face, I get my hair in my face, and these products have really lasted through it all. Which reminds me, I said I was going to tell you about my practical, casual 5-minute makeup look. You've basically seen me applying it in the footage that I've been rolling. But this is what I've been doing. I've been putting a primer on, like some kind of primer. I've been putting this concealer on exactly the way that I showed you in the footage. And then I've been putting this cheek product on quite heavily, and this lip product on exactly like this. In my brows, I just have a little bit of the Refi brow gel holding them in place, and that's it. And I've been going entirely without mascara and eye makeup on days when I wear this 5-minute face. And there's just something about it that I like. I kind of like it. I mean, I know that I look more my age. I'm 36 years old. I think that when I apply even just mascara, but definitely when I apply other kinds of eye makeup, that's one of the things that can kind of make me look a little bit younger than I actually am. I think when you see my unadorned eyes, you can kind of see my age more in them, but I don't mind that. It's like, what's wrong with looking your age? You know, it's like, it's the person that you are. I feel like there's something kind of also special about it, that it's like that Tilda Swinton sort of like blinky little splinky bird that just woke up and came out of its egg kind of thing. I like the effect of having a really strong blushy cheek and clean skin with no eye makeup and a strong bushy brow. Like, this is basically what I'm trying to tell you about my 5-minute makeup look, is that I'm eschewing eye makeup, including mascara. So nothing on the eyes. And the thing that I'm doing around that to make it work for me is a really bushy brow, a really pretty strong cheek, and this slightly overlined, slightly like pumped up looking matte lip. And there's something about the combination of those things that to me balances out the lack of eye makeup on the eyes. It makes it look intentional to me. The fact that I'm not wearing any eye makeup on the eyes, because everything else is so intentional but relatively simple, it makes it all look intentional. And it's been great because I haven't had to wash eye makeup off at the end of the day. I also feel like it's a little bit statement. It's a little bit fashion in a way. Like it's a little bit unusual. Again, it's got that kind of edge to it, which is something that I enjoy having when I'm just putting on a quick face of makeup to do things around the house. I just like that kind of thing, so it gives me pleasure. But I haven't come on camera like this at all because it's still in the back of my mind has been like, oh, you've got to put on mascara and you know, eyeshadow, and you've got to like sculpt your eyes and define your eyes. If you're going to be filming, if you're going to be taking a picture of yourself, then you have to make sure you like do the whole face. And today I was just like, I'm going to be reviewing these products. I'm just going to show you exactly what I've looked like when I've worn them, because this is the look that I've been getting with them. I know that the lack of eye makeup will probably make it look a little unfinished to some of you, but I really, really like it. So that's it for my review of Rose Inc. And as I think you can tell, these products really surprised and delighted me. I mean, I basically was like, oh, I should review this brand because it's kind of interesting that Rosie Huntington-Whiteley came out with this brand. It's launching straight into Sephora, and I haven't seen very many people reviewing it. So that was why I decided to do it. I wasn't expecting to find like the best base product of my entire life and be so excited. I absolutely was not. An overall positive experience. Of course, the exceptions to that are the faulty packaging on this product. It's a real bummer. And the fact that I found these colors to be kind of boring. And it's not that I think that they're unflattering or that I don't think they're flattering, because they are. And again, like especially the lip products kind of grown on me. I want colors that like make me feel that fire in the belly. You know what I mean? I want those weird, tawny, dusky, unusual colors. And we're just not getting that from Rose Inc. As it is, I'm just feeling really impressed by the formulas. And I'm here to tell you that what this brand is a collection of products that allow you to get this kind of fresh-faced, didn't try too hard look, but with really sturdy formulas. It's like you're getting that look, but these products don't have the drawbacks of most of the products that are on the market that are designed to get you that look. And I imagine that because they're so pigmented, you could build them up to get a more intense, full coverage, full glam look. I didn't try that because, I mean, I'm over here with like no eye makeup and no mascara on, but the formulas, it just seems like you can manipulate them to do whatever you wish. I didn't try everything from the brand. I didn't try the skincare, it's too expensive for me. And I didn't try the brow products. It's brow pomades, and in my experience, when a pomade is designed to sort of be delicately brushed through the brow hairs, like a pomade with color that you just coat your hairs with it, and then it's supposed to just hold them in place by coating them, doesn't work for me. I'm kind of picky about my brows. I need something with a really, really strong hold to kind of like glue them down. And, you know, I have a limited budget for self-sponsored review. So I just picked the 3 products that I was the most curious about, that I thought I would get along the best with. And really, it went beautifully with all 3 of them. I hope that you enjoyed watching this review. I'm really grateful to you for being here and spending this time with me. I hope that you will subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed yet. But more than either of those things, I really hope that you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself, because that's what will make you the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.